Welcome everybody to New Twist Radio Presents. I am, of course, J. Chris, Justin Watson, however you want to refer to me. It's all right as long as you say the right thing. Don't say the wrong thing because you already know how I'm about. But anyway, today's a very special conversation today. Very good, brother. You know, we do New Twist Radio promotes good people doing good things. And I'm going to bring him right on in because I don't want to waste this brother's time because he's a very busy man. So without further ado, we have Kaloni Davis in the building. Everybody,
Yo,
Kaloni Davis is here. Appreciate you for taking the time out to talk to us today about
absolutely, man.
what
Appreciate
you
you.
got going on. And we're gonna get this conversation started. All right, we definitely gonna get it started. I want to get into it. First of all, this is actually not the first time that we've had conversations about what you're working on, right?
Right, right.
People that have been around New Twist Radio for a while know that about. Well, you can tell me how long ago it was. It was we talked about the Last Days saga.
Yeah. That was a while ago. I can't remember which episode we spoke about. That would determine exactly how many years ago it was. But I started the series. Oh, probably somewhere between 8, 10 years ago. It was a while ago. Yeah, yeah.
And
Since then, I've turned it into a graphic novel. So
it's dope. It's dope work. Um,
thank you.
we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But
Okay.
right now, excuse me, I'm speaking with filmmaker Kalani Davis, Philadelphia native, and a hard worker, actor, filmmaker. What else? Give me some more. 'Cause you do a lot of
uh
things.
Writer, producer, and a lot of these titles is not, I do them, but I don't list them all to brag, but it happens by default, right? Because you gotta make things work, so you end up wearing a number of hats. So by default, I would say writer, producer, actor, director, and obviously from watching the Last Day stuff, fight choreographer and all of that stuff. Yeah, so yeah.
That's right. I forgot you choreographed the fight scenes in that. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
yeah. I've been
So
doing martial arts my whole life, so
so what we do here, we promote good people doing good things. That's what I've been doing for the last 10, 11 years. So you're a filmmaker, producer, fight choreographer, all the things you just writer, everything you just named, right?
mhm.
Director, all of that. But tell the people and tell me who Kalani Davis is first. Who is Kalani Davis? And then we'll get to the meat on the bone. But
Mm,
we gotta start with the bone first.
okay, all right. So when you say who Kalani Davis is, you talking about like my my essence, my personality, what I things I
Absolutely.
care about. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. Well, number one, I'm a man of God. Um, um, I I'm a black man, and being a black man, I care about my people, black people. I have a particular place in my heart for black men, with all the stuff that we deal with in this country. And I'm a storyteller, man. I have a deep passion and a love for storytelling, and which is why the things that I do could fall in any category of storytelling, whether I'm writing, whether I'm directing, um, you know, even, I got a love for music also. I believe you could tell stories with music. Um, whether it's a film or a graphic novel, I'm always telling stories. So yeah, that's who I am.
And so let's talk about the films and the graphic novels. What let's go back a little bit actually. What in your early days of your life
Mm,
led you to this path? Like what was it that said, okay, I want to create not just movies, not just story. Like you want to, like you say, you choreographer, you write, direct. What sparked that creative spirit in you?
Well, it was kind of always with me since I was a kid, man. It was, I mean, like literally since I was a single digit child, I can always remember being, um, you know, intoxicated by the arts. Um, the creator in me comes from, both sides of my family, my mom and my dad. My dad is a painter, and all my uncles on my dad's side are all musicians. But that talent also crosses over into my mom's side. I got a lot of singers in my mom's side, and so just the idea of the arts is just it's in my blood, I think. But the particular love for film started when I was a kid, just from being growing up watching movies, man. My first love was acting. Um,
Mm.
and you know, being a kid growing up in the 80s and the 90s, sitting in front of the television, watching people do these amazing things on the screen. I can from my earliest memory was like being like, I want to do that. Whatever they're doing looks way too fun for me not to do it. And so I always wanted to be the person that was carrying the story on the screen, right? So I connected with the actors first, and I was like, man, I want to act. I want to be able to draw emotions, the emotions out of people that those actors drew out of me when I was watching them. How did they do that? And so when I got older, um, I went to high school here in the suburbs, town called Yaden, right outside of Philly. But then, my mom saw that passion in me, and she saw how bad I wanted to like get into it. And I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to audition for Creative and Performing Arts High School. We call it Kaplan right here in Philly. I got in, and I worked under some amazing acting teachers, amazing acting coaches. Shout out to Mel Williams. He knows who he is. If he sees this, he'll definitely appreciate me doing that. Love you, Mel. And so they taught me what I know about acting. Um, while I was there, I took a video class. Part of the drama major curriculum was a video production class, and at this point, I hadn't thought about the idea of being a filmmaker, right? So I took this video class there, and I immediately fell in love with the idea of creating my own worlds. And my video teacher, Mr. Radano, who I haven't seen in absolute decades, but he dropped a seed in me that took me over, man. And so I became infatuated with the idea of creating worlds and telling my own stories. And by the time I graduated from there, I ended up deciding to go to college, not for acting, which is what I was originally going to do, but I ended up going for film and never turned back, man. Never turned back. And so that I still love to act. That's not ever going anywhere. But I'm completely in love with the idea of telling my own stories and directing. So
Yeah, and you do an absolute amazing job at it. I love seeing people. And for full disclosure, Kalani and I, we grew up in the same town, same neighborhood where he's talking about. We
yeah,
grew up there. We this high school. We went to the same high school. Not, I didn't go to Cap. I didn't go to the performing arts. He went, but the school before he left, or excuse, I shouldn't say left. Before he transferred, I was at the same school. I actually transferred out of that school too. So, um, like I said, you do an amazing job of telling these stories, creating your own worlds. Um, and you said create your own worlds, and it sparked something just now because when you say create your own worlds, my wife and I were just watching a Marvel movie last night. I'm not going to put
mm,
the movie out there; it doesn't matter which one.
hmm
But
hmm
in the Marvel universe,
Yeah.
they have their own worlds and they
Right.
all collide.
Right.
Um, how do you feel about that type of what they're doing in the industry as far as with their own words? Is that something that you kind of base your work on, or are you going in a different lane? How would you compare your work, your worlds to the Marvel worlds, and how does that, do they correlate at all?
Well, first of all, if you ask me how I think they're doing, I think they're masters at it, right? I think, I think, I think, I think, I think Disney in general are master storytellers, right? They have mastered the formula of telling stories to grab an audience in such a way that you don't want to come out of it, right? They're
Mhm.
masters at it. From 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 Marvel to Pixar, right? They're masters. Do my stories necessarily connect to that? So as somebody who has created a graphic novel and a fan of superheroes, absolutely. Um, however, I don't like to, I don't want to limit myself, right? I don't want to put myself in a box and say, like, you know, I'm solely inspired by Marvel, right? Because you know, my favorite genres are action, horror, psychological thrillers, right?
Okay.
Those are my favorites. But it doesn't mean that I won't tell stories outside of that, right? I love the superhero genre. I love what's been happening with it for the last 10 or something odd years. Um, but most of my influences, the Marvel universe and even the DC universe, right? Like, DC goes back a little further, right? They've been showing us what their stories for a long time. On cinema, on screen, I mean.
Hmm.
Um, but like the Marvel universe, like the movies, it's fairly new, right? It's fairly
Right.
new, right?
Right.
I give my props to my man Wesley Snipes for doing what he did with Blade and kind of sparking the whole thing off. He
Hmm.
doesn't get a lot of the respect and credit for what he started, right? But truth be told, like, you know what I mean? Like, Blade sparked off what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
shout out to the black man in martial arts and doing this thing, right? Um, but most of my influences precede that, right? Um, most of my influences, honestly, are rooted in like the 60s, 70s, I absolutely the 80s horror films.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
How
man.
so?
So
And
like,
why? What was that influence?
so when it comes to psychological thrillers, right?
Mhm.
Like the film we're gonna talk about today, Hitchcock was absolutely an influence here. Um, he is they call him the master for a reason, man. If you ever sit down and listen to this dude just talk, and you get a grasp of his understanding of how to manipulate the audience's fears and insecurities, use them against them. um like, he's a master at it, man. He understands the human psyche. He understood the human psyche and how to like draw it out through storytelling. He's a master. He's a master. He's an absolute master. And I don't think any filmmaker would even disagree with me, right? He's across the board. Hitchcock is the master, right? So I grew up watching a lot of Hitchcock. I grew up watching Hitchcock Presents 10 o'clock at night, sneaking into the living room as a kid, watching it, knowing that I should have been in bed, but I couldn't put it down, right? I grew up watching The Twilight Zone. Um, I grew up, watching 70s horror films, man. Like, and I don't think most people will argue with me with this. One of my favorites is still one of the films that rubs me the wrong way, no matter how many times I watch it, is The Exorcist, right? It's
Rubs you the wrong way? How?
it just does something to my bones, man. No matter how many times
Okay.
I watch it, it's a masterful film, man. It's a
Okay.
masterful film. When I talk about to my other movie buff friends, I I I say that film's got something on it, man. No matter it's got it for real. It's more than a movie to me. To me, it's got
Mhm.
something on it, man. When I watch it, no matter how I can watch it home by myself, I can watch it with a group of people. It always gets to me. I studied that film over and over and over again. And then you talk about the 80s, man. You got Wes Craven, you got John Carpenter. What that 80s crew of filmmakers did with horror, man, it's just like, I watch a lot of films that come out today, man. They can't touch them. You know what I mean? So most of my influences are the old heads.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. I mean, and I can see that. I can see that with the film we're going to be talking about today.
yeah.
The
Oh, that's a
last day. If
compliment.
there's
If you can see that, that's a compliment. That's cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't. I can like now that you say it,
yeah,
I can definitely feel that influence. And even with the last days, with the last days, the saga,
yeah.
there was a piece of nostalgia to it in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So even with
Yeah,
Last Days, right? For the people watching who may not know what we're talking about. So Last Days is a series, it's an action series, centered around this world set in the end times, and it's all around all the action is martial arts and shoot 'em up. Um, but like so even with that, the action in it is not influenced by the modern films we watch, right? I grew up watching the old head um, kung fu movies, right?
mhm,
Of course, I give my number one, and anybody who knows me knows that I give absolute all respect to my man Bruce Lee. He is a absolute influence on what I do when it comes to action. But I also grew up watching the Shaw Brothers, Jackie Chan. Not his like new stuff in the last,
not the
even
American stuff.
yeah, right. Not the
Right,
American stuff. I'm talking
right,
about Jackie when he was young.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Before
hmm
before most of the states even knew about him. I got an uncle who is a kung fu nut and horror film nut, coincidentally, who is responsible for introducing me to all of this stuff when I was a kid. And so, like literally, like when he would babysit me and my cousins and my brothers. His idea of babysitting is turn on a kung fu movie or a horror film late at night, sit out in front of the TV, and like go about his business. And we would be sitting there like, "What are we watching?" Right? But, when I was a kid, it was traumatizing, but
right.
I'm in love with it now, man. So, yeah, 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 yeah. So even with Last Days, man, like the influences come from the old stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So one more question for you before we get into the evaluation.
Yep, yep.
And this question is more so of a question of advice for people that like you have ideas and aspirations, but kind of have trouble putting that first foot out in front of the other. If you
Mm,
know what I mean,
yep,
getting started is what I'm trying to get to.
yeah,
You have an idea, you conceptualize an idea for Kalani Davis. How does Kalani go about? What's the first steps Kalani does to put that idea in motion? Like you've decided, okay, you know what? I have this idea. You've written it out,
okay.
and now you want it to be. Now you've decided you want it to make. You want to make a film out of it.
Yeah,
What is your first steps? Your first steps going into that process.
yeah. So I would tell any filmmaker, because especially when you're not sitting on a hill of money, you don't have all the Hollywood relationships and contacts and all that stuff. Most filmmakers start out like that. We got ideas and nothing else.
Right.
Um, so my first line of advice would be lay down or abandon any notion that you need permission to make your film. Just do it.
Really.
Yeah. So a lot of aspiring filmmakers get caught up and paused or stopped or give up before they even start. because of this, right? They
Mm.
don't believe that it's possible. Abandon that disbelief and give it the Nike treatment. Just do it, especially your first time out. You got nothing to lose. Just do it. Just do it. It may be absolutely terrible,
Mm.
but the next one's going to be better. So do it and then keep doing it, right?
Okay.
So that would be my first thing, right? That's the you have to believe that it's possible.
Okay.
You got to, because making a movie is not an easy thing in any way, shape, or form, right? But if you love it enough, you burn for it enough, you will figure out how to do it, and then you'll do it. You'll fumble the ball on different aspects. You'll mess up. You'll drop the ball, but you will improve. You will improve if you continue to do it. So that would be the first step. Believe it's possible. Don't believe. Don't think that you need permission from anybody. Um, the next thing I would do, the next thing I would say is that filmmaking is a collaborative art. And that's one of the things I love about it. Filmmaking is a collaborative art. It's not one of those things. I mean, no matter how multi-talented you are, you can't do it alone, right? You need to work with people. So find yourself a group of like-minded individuals. I would suggest that those individuals share the same passion as you
Mm.
and work with them. Work with them. Um, Delegate roles and responsibilities. And as long as you guys can continue to um, remain on the same accord, y'all can get it done.
I don't want you to think I'm being rude and not paying attention. I'm breaking out my notebook so I can write this
Oh,
down.
all right.
I'm taking notes here.
Cool,
You
cool,
dropping some jewels on me. Let me write this down. I mean,
cool.
I can
I
always
think,
go back to the video, but I'm going to go ahead and write some of this down.
yeah, no, man. I hope that makes sense, man. Like that first part, it's you got to get over this, right? Um, the second part is it's got to be here. It's got to be here.
Right.
It's not.
And,
It's not. It's nothing easy about it. And
and
if
that
you don't
first
have the
part,
heart for it, you may do it once and then quit. Um, you may start and give up before you even finish.
mhm,
It is not easy. One of the things that keeps me going is the fact that I love it so much. If I'm not doing this, I'm not doing anything. So I might as well die. I look at it that seriously. Like that's how much love I have for it. If I'm not
wow,
doing it, if I'm not doing this, I'm dead. If I'm not telling stories, I am a completely miserable person. I'm serious.
wow,
So I don't like. And as much as I'm aware that this, for people who blow up and go to Hollywood, you can live a very lucrative life, in this industry. It's not why I do it. I do it because it's so much a part of me. It would be like cutting off one of my limbs.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
like
amazing. Like
that's
I
that's
know
how
we're
much I love
talking
it.
to each other. I feel like you're talking directly to me. Like
Oh, cool.
you need to like this is like you've been watching like this is what you're missing. Like you're telling me this is what you're missing. These are
Yeah,
the couple factors and the ingredients that you're missing.
yeah.
But no, I mean
And I'm
don't you
sure other artists in other industries share that same sentiment, right? Like I'm pretty sure if you ask musicians who have a deep love for what they do, would say the same thing, regardless what the art is, right? Music,
yeah,
dance, acting, you know, painting, whatever. You know what I mean? Most painters are not rich, but they never stop painting. It's because it's in
right.
them.
That's true.
It's in them. You can't not do it. It's a part of who they are, right? So filmmaking and storytelling is the same way for me. I can't not do it. I can't not do it.
That you just hit home with me, and I'm sure you hit home with a lot of people that are watching this or that are going to see this. Um, what you just said hit home. Great advice from filmmaker Kalani Davis. Now
Yeah.
I lied. I said this was the last question before we go into the evaluation, but I got
It's,
to touch on this
it's all
because I
good.
might forget.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I will forget stuff. Now I saw some of the last days the saga from some of your previous work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like because of that, I have to ask you about your background right behind you, the stuff on the wall.
Oh, this stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I know you have a love for the martial arts.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have a love for fight choreography.
Yep.
The stuff behind, I'm not gonna call it props because it looks real, so I'm sure it's real.
No, they are. They real. It's all real. Yeah.
Have you used those in any of your films, any of your works?
I haven't used the swords in the films. I have used the bow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the bow is one of the main characters from Last Days. His name is Michael. The bow is his main weapon. Um,
Okay.
uh, the bow is recreational for me. I do it because it helps me relax. I don't know if you've ever heard of Zen Archery. Um,
Zen archery, no.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's a style of archery where so like so what you're looking at on my wall, I keep putting over the wrong shoulder as I'm looking at
I do the same thing. Don't even
reversed
worry
on the
about
screen. But what you're looking at on the wall, that's a recurve, right? You see it in the actual bow itself. It curves and then it recurves. So that's why it's called a recurve.
it.
Um,
Okay.
in Zen archery, have you ever seen those archers? The bow is like really, really big. It's almost like as tall as them, right?
Yes.
And they they load the bow and they pull it back and they don't necessarily aim, right? They just kind of focus on their target, but they're not aiming, right?
Okay.
It's like a form of meditation.
Mm.
And when they release, it hits the target. And so before I read up on it, right, I used to see it and I was like, there's no way that can work. I tried, man, and it works. It's crazy and it works. And it's so relaxing. I go
Mm.
out, I'll go out to a field. There used to be a range not too far from me, that had a shooting range and a bow and arrow range in it. And it's not there anymore, but I used to go there and just I would I would spend a few like an hour or so, you on my recurve, just aiming and shooting the regular way that most people can think most people think of. But then I would just throw my headphones on and just imagine the arrow hitting its target, and it it's got a relaxing element to it, man, that I've fallen in love with. So um yeah, I know
That's
I went
amazing.
off on a tangent, but yeah,
But that's amazing because
it's relaxing, man.
I had a baseball coach
Yeah,
that would tell me, visualize the game the night before
yep,
or
it works, man.
visualize your at bats.
I'm telling you, it works.
And it's so crazy how much it makes a big difference. Because I was like, how can I visualize a game and I have no idea what's going to happen?
Yeah,
But it was like just think about situations, think about what you're going to do if this happens, what you're going,
yep,
your movements, your steps. But that I mean, that's amazing, and that's what what you're explaining didn't sound off to me because I've experienced it in other forms.
yeah. Now, I don't claim to be a master in archery in any way, shape, or form, so I don't want nobody out there thinking, if I
Yeah,
said
don't
something
don't
wrong,
take me out there and miss. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on.
yeah, I'm not, but I do know enough about Zen archery that that's the concept of it is visualizing what you want to hit, and it works, man. It works, and it's relaxing, right? It takes the pressure off of like, you know, trying to hit that bullseye. You just let it do what it does, and believe it's going to hit it. And man, I can't even explain to you how or why it works, but it does. But it's also relaxing. That's the main reason I do it. It's relaxing. I put my
Gotcha.
headphones on and I zone out, man. So yeah,
Awesome, awesome. Now, I want to talk to you about this. Let's talk about it.
what's up?
The
Yeah,
evaluation.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The evaluation. Short film by Kalani Davis. There's a screening November 17th at 6:30 to 8:30. Temple University campus, 1755 North 13th Street,
Hmm.
Philadelphia, PA, at the Real Cinema Movie Theater in the Student Center South.
Right.
Let's talk about the evaluation.
Let's do it.
So I've seen it, and I'm not going to say much because I don't want to give anything up, and I don't want to slip. Right.
Mhm.
I don't want to slip. And that's why when you were like, I want you to see it before we talk about it, I was nervous, like, okay. Like, but
Yeah.
I've actually watched it twice. Okay.
Oh, all right.
And
Cool,
that's a
cool,
big
cool.
deal for me because there's movies that I absolutely love that I won't watch again. And there's
Wow,
movies like
man.
my favorite movies I've
That's
watched
flattering.
over and over. There's movies that I love that I just won't watch again because I don't feel like watch. This one I've watched twice, and I'll probably watch it a few more times before the screening. But this one is it's an interesting film. So give me a little bit about it. I haven't seen this movie. All right, I don't want to slip. So I haven't seen this movie.
Okay.
What do you want me and everybody else to know about this movie?
Um, what do I want you to know about it? You mean
As
before you
far
see
as
it? Before you go see it?
as far
Right.
as what it's about, basically what I'm doing right now is I'm giving you the opportunity
Uh-huh.
to get people out to this free event
Yeah,
at
yeah,
Temple
yeah.
University.
All right. Well, so first thing you should know is it's a short film. But don't worry, you're not coming all the way out there for 7 minutes, right? It's you know what I mean? It's a 40 minute film. But the entire event is going to be from 6:30 to 8:30 because what's going to happen is doors are going to open, we're going to watch the film, and then we have Sincerely Sarita. She's a radio personality. She used to work for Word Radio. She just recently retired from Word Radio, but she's an awesome human being, awesome person. She will be there to do a Q&A with me and the principal cast, and then take some questions from the audience, because I'm pretty sure that after you watch this film, you're gonna be left with
Yes. And I
you
want to ask him now, but I have to wait for the
yeah,
screen.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're gonna be left with some questions that I want to give. You're gonna be left with some questions and comments that I want to give the audience an opportunity to ask and speak on. One of the reasons I'm doing this and making this free is because I want to give the cast an opportunity to view this in front of an audience, get the audience's reactions, get the audience's immediate feedback. Because you know, some of the actors do theater, right? So first of all, the 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 job that they did is amazing. Um, some of the actors do theater, and I know that theatrical actors are used to that immediate response, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and so I want to give them an opportunity to experience that, right? So that's why I'm doing this. It's free. Anybody can come. It's on Temple University's campus, so that means it's open to the students and also the public. So if you intend on coming out, bring a friend. The theater holds 150 people. We can't go over capacity, so it's first come, first serve. So I would say get there at 6:30 if you want a good seat. Um, just in case too many people show up, you don't want to be at the end being like, "Oh snap, I got here too late." Um, um, uh, One thing I do want to put out there is that the university does require that the every attendee wears a mask. There's no vaccine mandate, but everybody does have to wear a mask. So please don't show up without a mask, because they're not gonna let you in. So yeah. So with that being said, what's the movie about? So the story is about a psychiatrist who one random morning gets a call from the court to do an evaluation on a patient who was on trial for murder. Uh, and so, in a last minute scenario, he agrees and goes to a prison psych ward and meets with the uh, the man on trial.
Mhm.
And from then on, it it things start to get weird. Um, it's one of those stories, one of those plots. Like I said earlier, Hitchcock is my man. So it's one of those stories that nothing you expect is what it is. And like even the characters' personalities are not what you would expect them to be based on the way that I've written it, right? Um, so man, without ruining the
Right.
plot, I
Like I
would
feel like
say,
you're getting closer and closer
yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah. So I'm
I'm gonna
not I'm
cut
not
him
I'm
off.
not I'm not gonna say more. I'm not gonna say more. I'm not gonna say more.
Well, let me try to say this and stop me if I'm going over.
Yeah, 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 I definitely will.
The the prisoner,
Yes,
you call him.
yes,
Um, when the doctor gets the call to for I guess with interview or examination or
evaluate.
something like evaluate. There you go, evaluate.
Yeah,
Um, they tell him that this guy has some possible mental issues.
yeah. So I'm gonna stop you there.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop you there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. They tell him that he has some mental issues, and he does. He has some mental issues, and
Mhm.
it is the psychiatrist's job to figure out what those mental issues are, or if those mental issues even really exist, right?
If
So like
if they're legit within
if they're
within
legit, right? Because he's on trial. I can say this: he's on trial for murder. And his whole spiel is he's pleading insanity. His lawyer's pleading insanity,
uh,
and so the court calls the psychiatrist to go in and make sure that it's legit. So he's got to find out um, if he's insane, and if he is insane, what's the root of it?
right. Now, speaking on the movie but not about the movie, the mental health conversation has become very prominent
Right,
within the last couple years, especially since
right.
the pandemic started.
Yep, yep.
Um, did you feel like this was an important film to put out during this time because of that conversation?
Um, yes, and yes, right. So I'll say it. I'll answer it this way. Yes. So absolutely, the mental health conversation is definitely an important conversation to have. Um, I wrote it from a place of how do I want to say this? I don't want to say this wrong. So the film is bigger than that,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
There's more to the film than just mental health,
Okay.
right? So I don't want to say that I wrote this for solely for the mental health audience, right?
Okay.
But the mental health audience can or should be able to relate to it.
Gotcha.
But you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I sat down. I was like, I want to tell a story that will touch on the 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 mental health issues that are going on right now.
Hmm.
Right? The movie is about that, but it's even bigger.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. Because I see we're not saying too much because the screening is coming up this week. So the screening is of course on the
4 days away.
17th. On the 17th, and we want
Yeah,
people to come and see the film, see the art. Excuse me. But yeah, absolutely makes sense.
yeah,
Um, now let's talk about the process of the story as well as the process of creating the story.
yeah,
Um, this was written by you, correct?
yes.
This story was written by you. And was there in your process,
Hmm.
is there like you always hear about like if an actor is going to play a detective,
Hmm.
they'll
Shadow
go and
detective.
shadow a detective and
Yeah.
all like that. When
Yes.
you write,
Yep.
do you, if something is not within your immediate knowledge,
Yeah.
do you go and study up
Yep.
on that topic?
Yep.
Um, with this topic, and I don't know how it may or may not relate to you with in this film, all the things in this film, and you play a role in the film too. I hope I'm not out of bounds by saying that,
No, no,
because I
small
want to ask
role.
you about that too.
Yeah, yeah, small role. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen my screenshots with me in the film. So that's it's no giveaway.
So, what was the process of creating this story for you? This particular story. What? I don't want to say hoops did you have to jump through, but what kind of hurdles did you have to jump over? What kind of creative process? What was your study like? What what
Yeah.
what created this story for you?
Okay. Um, I would. So what created this story for me? I would say that the it's multifaceted, right? So when I say that the story is bigger than the mental health aspect, um, there are other elements in it that I directly relate to as a black man, right?
Okay,
So
right,
from the cover of the film, you can see that the patient is a black man, right?
right.
Um, so this film can be watched. There you go. This film can be watched in two ways, two different ways. You could watch it purely for entertainment and just be like, man, that was a good story, right? Hopefully you say that. You're like, man,
I did.
that was an interesting story, man. That got me, and I want to watch it again. Um, in my first set of promotion, I put on the poster a short film that you'll want to watch twice. Because it
And I
obviously it worked on you, right? You were like,
and
hold
my
up.
and my wife said, "Can we watch it again?"
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, hold up. I want to watch that again. So, I'm aware that that's what the movie does to you, right? I wrote it to do that to you.
Okay.
I want you to want to watch it twice. Um, uh, almost lost my train of thought. But so this film could that's what I was saying. This film could be watched in one or two ways. You could watch it purely for entertainment, but if you look a little deeper, you'll also find that inside the story is an allegory for a lot of things that came to the head as a result of 2020. And I'm specifically speaking about
Mm.
is it
And I'm gonna watch it again now.
you gonna, you
I'm
gonna
gonna
watch it
watch it
again now.
again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you look at it, and I want to say what those things are, but if I say, I feel like if I say it, then I'm gonna
Right,
ruin it.
right. But I
So
kind of, I kind of think I know where you're headed, but
yeah,
of
yeah,
course
yeah.
I'm not gonna say nothing.
I
But
think
yeah,
like I think once I say that, then you can
right,
see it. You're like,
right.
oh, wow, I didn't realize it. Um, and so one of the things that inspired me to write it. So I'll say this: what inspired me to write it is just I love to tell psychological thrillers. That's one of my favorite genres, right? The thing that inspired me to write it the way that I wrote it was 2020 itself. I saw a lot of things happening in society, in specifically our community, the Black community, um, and I wanted to tell a story that was kind of an allegory for what we experienced last year. But in all honesty, what we've been experiencing in America for 300 years. You know what I mean?
Mm, mhm.
Um, so um, seeing a black man in chains ain't new
Right,
in any way, shape, or form, either in real life or on screen, right?
right.
Um, mental health is not new either, right? Um, but something about the last year. kind of brought a lot of those things to the surface for a lot of people. And so,
Mhm.
and a lot of filmmakers do this, a lot of storytellers do this. They will either use or be influenced by the times, to write their stories. So that's basically what I did with the evaluation.
Let me ask you this, and I feel like I should know this. So I'm going to ask you like I already know
Hmm.
because I know nobody else knows
Uh-huh.
that hasn't seen it. But I
Yeah,
feel like I
man. I
should
really, I
know
really
this.
hope, I really hope we're not.
No, 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 no. It's actually this. It's not going to give up anything unless the answer gives up something. Then don't answer it.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping that I haven't said anything so far. But anyway, go ahead.
You the I'm looking at the cover photo. I'm looking at the basically the ad for the screening, but this is your cover for the movie.
Yeah, yeah. So it's one of the covers. Yeah.
The word evaluation
Yes.
has three red letters in it.
Yep. And I'm not going to tell
ELAI.
you why.
Huh?
I'm not going to tell you why.
Ah, okay. Okay. Because when I first saw it, I was wondering about it. Like
You're
I
like,
wanted to
like,
know, and I was just like,
why
I've
is that?
never.
Why is that there? There's a lot of stuff hidden in the story, and so the poster is the same way, right?
Man, you gonna have me watching. Like I
Yeah,
want all the answers.
yeah. I know you do. I know this is the reason why I wanted the Q&A, because I
Okay.
I know when it's over, people are gonna be like, wait, what? What did you mean by that? And
I hope
how did it?
I hope you're allowed to ask multiple questions in the Q&A because I'm
I
gonna
hope
be
you I hope you come with multiple questions, man, for sure.
I'm gonna
For
get on.
sure.
Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. I have a question. I have another question. It's gonna be me. That's gonna be
Yeah, I
me.
hope so. I hope so.
Talking with filmmaker Kalani Davis about his short film, The Evaluation. It's free screening November 17th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on the campus of Temple University. That's at the Real Cinema Movie Theater in the Student Center South, 1755 North 13th Street, Philadelphia, PA, of course. Free admission, Q&A segment after the screening. So make sure you get there early so you see the whole thing. Listen, if you don't get there early and you don't see the whole thing,
Oh, don't do
don't
that
get
to
up in the
yourself.
Q&A and ask a bunch of questions. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, get
don't
there
do
early
don't do that
to
to
see
yourself.
the whole thing.
Please come out, bring a friend, bring multiple friends. Um, but whenever y'all get there, just make sure it's on time, because I don't want you to have to walk in, you know, 15 minutes into the film and not know what's going on.
Listen, if you walk in the film 15 minutes late, you're definitely not going to know what's going on. Get there early. It's
Yeah.
one of those things that you got to see from the beginning.
Um,
Let's talk about the actors real quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just about to actually.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the actors because you said something earlier that you said earlier that a lot of they're stage actors as well.
Yep.
And when people say that, the first thing I think of is Tyler Perry.
Mm,
And when he started having TV shows with
hmm.
his stage actors.
Yeah.
And one show in particular I think of is one of my favorite shows that he does is House of Pain.
Yeah.
And you had a couple people on there that were like what's the main character in that show? I can't the dude from Jason's Lyric. Can't think of his name.
I know who you're talking about. I don't.
Carl Payne. Carl. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
Anyway,
I can see him
he
in
was
my
in
in my
Jason's
mind.
Lyric.
Yeah.
So he's an experience. He was
Yeah.
in New Jack City, all that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing I noticed when the show came out, when the show first came out, is that they were stage actors, and you can tell that they were looking for, like you said, that immediate reaction. It was they were stage acting, but it was on TV, and it felt like that. And it got to the point eventually where they were TV acting. That's what I like to say, TV acting, and it just felt like it flowed better. With these actors that you had in there, I couldn't tell that they were stage actors. And I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean is
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they were extremely comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
As a director, is that part of your job to
Absolutely.
make them comfortable?
Absolutely.
And how did that process go?
So when I say stage actors, I want to say this. I want to say this is not the first. movie that they've done,
Okay.
right? When I say stage actors, I mean like that's the beginning of their training, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So some actors go straight into film, right? Some actors start on stage first and then transition to film, or continue to do both throughout their career.
Right.
Um, Eric Carter, coincidentally, one of my friends, and we both trained under the same theater coach.
Mm.
That brother is a beast.
Now
Eric.
Eric Carter is
Oh, he's the patient. He's the patient.
brother. Let me tell you something about Eric
Yeah,
Carter.
I know.
Let me tell you something about Eric Carter.
Yeah, I know. He's an absolute monster.
Man, he played that part.
Yo, he's an
And I don't
absolute.
know. I don't know anything. I don't know him, so I don't know how he played that. But my wife even said, "Man, he's playing that part."
Yeah, he's an absolute monster. He's an absolute monster, and a monster as an actor, and a monster in this movie.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an absolute monster. So Eric and I both went to Kappa.
Okay.
So we trained under the same acting coach, Mel Williams. And one of the reasons, so as I was writing this, I was thinking to myself, I was like, who do I think could play this part? Right. And I was going through my mental Rolodex. Um, so I will say this, my initial script, Eric's character was a white guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, most writers will tell you this. Your first draft is just you figuring out your story.
Mm,
Right? So
okay.
as you continue to write, things change, always change. So eventually, throughout my process, I decided to switch it, and then I was like, who could play this part the way that I want this guy to behave in this film? Um, and and Eric was the first person that came to my mind, and I was like, yo, I gotta call E. Now E, I call him E because we got a history together, but Eric, I hadn't seen him in a long time, right? But I know that he was still doing his thing, and from going to school with him, I knew what he was capable of, and
Okay.
so I reached out to him, and I was like, Eric, I got a part for you, man. If you're interested, um, I'd love for you to read it and get back to me and tell me what you think. And he read it. I think it was the next night or that same night. He called me back laughing. He was like, "Yo," he was like, "Yo, I'm down, man." He was like, "I'm down." He was like, and he told me later on, he was like, "Man, I actually been looking for something that I can sink my teeth in like this."
Mm,
Because Eric is a real good actor, man. And one of the things he shared with me is like, the way this industry works, man. As a black actor, as a black man, you know, they tend to give us stereotypical roles, right?
yes.
And
Mhm.
usually the roles are like, the guy, either we're the friend or the guy in the background or the stereotypical thug that really has no real importance other than being a throwaway bad guy in the film. You know what I mean? We
Right.
get these
Right.
stereotypical roles that don't really give us a chance to show what we got, right?
Mhm.
Show what we're made of. And so it's one of the things Eric shared to me. And he was just like, man, as good as he is, he's good. Um, he shared with me, he was like, man, I haven't, really had something this interesting before. And I'm not throwing shade on anybody else that ever casted Eric before. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just,
Right.
um, sharing something that he shared with me. I hope that's not offensive to anybody, but yeah, and the whole like burying the allegory in this film, and as a black man wanting to give like one of us an opportunity to like show off is part of the reason or two of the reasons why I switched it. I was like, I'm gonna give this role to a black guy because we're not used to black men playing roles like this. So I gave it to him. I gave it to a black guy. Then I was like, I know the perfect guy who could play it. So yeah.
And he played that man. He played that part, man.
Yeah, yeah, nah, he played the mess out of that part, man. He's a monster. So shout out to Eric Carter, man. He's a monster, absolute monster.
Yeah, all the actors in there, definitely they definitely did their thing. Let's talk about you in the film. All
Okay,
right.
and I wanna talk about I mean not
Now
I'm
we can
pretty
talk about anything you want to talk about, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get there, but I want to talk about the psychiatrist too.
oh
To,
yeah, absolutely,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely. We're gonna
because
talk about the psychiatrist, but
yeah,
I wanted to talk about you because I wanted to ask you this
yeah. What's up?
because if I remember correct, in Last Day, you were not the main character in Last Days, or were you? Was it the
I was
cop
I was one
or
of them. I was one of
okay?
them.
So there was like a
Yeah,
co-main.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, in this one, you're not the main character.
No, no.
What is it like to direct a film that you're in and play a part? We see it a lot in Hollywood where directors are in the film. Spike does it a lot.
Yeah,
Um, just you see it a lot. F.
yeah,
Gary
right.
Gray, he does it. He has done it, I should say.
Yeah.
What is that like stepping in front of the camera when you still have to make decisions from behind the camera at the same time?
First word I'm gonna say is fun.
And let me also add to the question. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Did you write that when you wrote this? Did you say I'm going to play this part,
yeah,
or did that decision come later? But go
yeah.
ahead.
No, no. When I wrote it, I said I'm gonna play this part. So so again, Hitchcock being my primary influence, at least for this film. Um, that's me doing my Hitchcock, doing my Hitchcock cameo, right?
Okay.
Um, for people out there who aren't Hitchcock fans, one of the things he does is you'll see him show up in very small roles or in the background roles of a lot of his films. So that was just me doing my homage to my influences. Um, but I also enjoy acting, right? So I was like, I want to be in this movie, right? So the difference between that and Last Days, for example, like I was one of the main characters in Last Days, um, primarily because I love action, right? Like I literally enjoy fighting on screen, right? And so when it comes to action, I'm going to always want to be in it, right?
Okay.
Um, I most of the time I end up so far I've ended up choreographing all the fight scenes anyway. So I end up um being in the gym rehearsing with the cast, fighting, falling, rolling, punching, kicking with them anyway. So I put myself in the movies, for fun, right? Um, but when it comes to other types of narratives like horror or psychological thrillers or just straight thrillers, I don't necessarily need to be in it. Only reason I was in this one is because I was just doing my Hitchcock thing. Um,
Okay.
what's it like doing it? It can be challenging sometimes because as a director, I also think with a cinematographer's eye, right?
Okay.
So I shot this film, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so one of the challenges of being in a film that you're shooting is that when you're on camera, you can't shoot.
Right. Right.
Right?
Hmm.
So I have to make sure everything is absolutely perfect and then pass the camera on to somebody else, and then I have to convey my vision to them for them to get it, right? Even if they're only shooting for like, one shot, right? That I'm in.
Hmm.
Um, like I gotta make sure that they understand exactly how I see it so that they can do it right when they hold the camera. Um, so I would say that that's the biggest challenge with it. Acting and directing simultaneously, like when I have on my costume and I'm standing in front of the camera and I'm in my character, it is challenging sometimes to completely give yourself to a role. And you're also thinking, is that guy over there standing in the right spot? Are the
Right.
lights hitting him the right way? Are the lights hitting me the right way? Is the camera angle right?
And all
You
this is going through your head while you're running through the lines, and
all of it, all
it's,
of it.
it's like it's like being a coach.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah. It's like being a coach and the point guard at the same
at
time.
the same, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
So it is challenging, but this isn't the first time that I've done it. Like you said, I did it with Last Days, so I'm kind of used to it at this point. Um, but in stories like this, where the drama of the story is so like action, there has to be drama, but the primary element of an action film is the action, right?
Right.
In a story like this, where the drama takes the front seat, the character's performance takes the front seat, I would I would I would never give myself a role larger than what you see in this project and direct, right? Because I got to be able to step away from the acting role and zoom in on my characters to make sure, like you said, they look and feel comfortable in front of the camera, becoming who I want them to become. I got to be their coach 100%.
Okay.
I can't have my mind divided too far. So in other films, I don't even need to be in it, to be honest with you. Um, like I said, I only put myself in this because I was doing my homage to Hitchcock.
Let's talk about the doctor.
The Doc, that's my guy, man. I met him. Like I got a history with Eric, but I met him on this film.
The
Um,
doctor.
yep. I just,
Okay.
just met him this year. Um, and I looked I looked far and wide for somebody who I felt had the look that I was going for. I feel like even if I say what I was looking for in his look, I'm gonna be giving it away too much. So I'm gonna try to curb my tongue a little bit. But
Okay.
I was looking for somebody who had that everyman look.
Okay.
Um, and I came across him and I was like, oh, he's perfect. So I auditioned him and he blew me away, man. And so one of the things he teases me about is so I got a relationship with Eric. So me and Eric talked about the story, um, and I let him read the whole script.
Mm,
And then he hit me back and was like, yo, I'm in, right? But I didn't do that for everybody
okay.
on purpose. I didn't do that for everybody because I wanted them to be impacted by the story the way the audience is so that they could understand what I want them to pull off.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like so
Yeah.
so
y-
what I mean by that is like the way that this story hits you, I want to make sure like the way it hit you on paper, I want to make sure that you understand the reaction we're going for because I want you to feel it.
Right.
So I didn't tell them everything. So when I
Mhm.
when I auditioned, his name is Tim Williams. When I auditioned him, um, I only I gave him a slither of his character,
Okay.
and I was like, hey, I just and honestly, that's common, right? When you audition for a role, you only get 1 or 2 pages to audition for it, right? And if you get the part, then you read the whole script.
Okay.
But I deliberately left a lot out of the concept of the story because I wanted him to go in thinking, knowing very little about his character, and the other characters, um, because that's the way you're going to go into it as an audience member. You're not going
Right.
to know much. It's a
Right.
short film on top of that, right? So we don't have 2 hours to character develop, right? So I gotta kind of hit you with it fast, right? So when he read the first page or two, he was like, oh, this is cool, man. All right, yeah. So I was like, so what you think, man? You interested? He was like, yeah, man, this sounds fun, right? And I was like, cool. So then I gave him the whole script. He read the whole script and he called me back. He was like, yo, you duped me. I was like, I know, man. I'm sorry. He was like, dude, I didn't realize this was that deep. So he was like, I love it. I was like, does that mean you still in? He's like, yeah, man, I'm still in it. He was like, but you made me think something else. And I was like, that's how I want the audience to feel. So I wanted you to feel that way also. So yeah, I treated the rest of the actors differently. So yeah.
No, that
Tim
was
Tim teases me about he calls me a liar, man. We were at dinner one time. He was like, Kalani, man, you know you lied to me, right? I was like, I was like, I had to, man. I couldn't give it all away to you. He was like, oh man, this is crazy. But yeah, he likens one of the things me and Tim connected on right away is that both of us are huge fans of the Netflix series Black Mirror.
okay.
Um, and when he read it, he was like, this reminds me of an episode of Black Mirror, man. This is dope. So I was like, yeah. I was like, if you like Black Mirror, I was like, use that as your barometer. That's what we going for. He was like, oh, I'm in. So yeah. You watch Black Mirror?
I have not watched Black Mirror, but I do want to because I've heard some good things about it.
Yes, it's
I'm
one
that
of my
guy
favorite
that's
shows,
like
man.
I can watch one or two things, but I can't watch a lot of different things. And
Okay.
I'm the guy that comes to it like 4 years later, and I'll
Okay.
talk to you about it like 4 years later. And you're like, yeah, I saw that like 12 years ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
that guy.
Well,
Um,
if you like this genre, bro, I would say Black Mirror, you'll love it.
okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
check it out. I'm gonna check it out. Um, so the doctor has a wife,
Yes.
and tell us about the wife.
What do you want to
What
know?
do I want to know? Okay,
Yeah,
well, first,
I gotta
tell us about
dance
the
around
person
so many
first.
questions, man.
Tell us about the person first. The actor,
The,
the actress.
the actress.
Yes, the actress.
Okay. Bree Thomas. She is a theater actress.
Okay,
This is actually her first. This is her first film she shared with me.
I thought she was
Um,
great.
yeah, she did an amazing job. This is her first film, and what you want to know about like her as a person or
Well,
like
just
her?
tell, you told us about Eric, and you
Yeah.
told us about
So
Tim.
I met
Tell,
Bree.
tell us her process.
I met Bree this year also. And I did the same thing with Bree. Um, gave her a slither of her part, and I was like, hey, you're the wife of a psychiatrist who has to do an evaluation on a patient who's on trial for murder. She was like, okay, sure, I'll read it, right? And I was like, cool. So I let her read her part, and in the audition, I allowed her to read, you know, up against uh, the character of the psychiatrist, like the audition script was one of the scenes with her husband.
Hmm.
Um, and it was a very simple scene. It was slightly dramatic because I wanted to see how she could pull it off. She did a great job, and I was like, she's got the look I was going for. She's got the personality I was looking for. I was looking for somebody who had like bubbly energy, um, you know, could can make you smile and laugh just from like watching her on camera.
Hmm.
Um, and she had that. She has that naturally. She has that naturally as a human being, right?
Okay,
She's got some sunshine to her that made me go, oh man, she's perfect, right?
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, you can see it.
Absolutely.
It's natural. So I was like, yeah, I was like, all right, cool. I wanna offer you this role if you're interested. And all, no, I knew right away that I wanted Eric. But for the other two characters, I looked far and wide. Like I didn't just like throw a dart at the mat and say you. Like I really looked and looked and looked and looked for people who had the right look and the right personality and skill level and everything. So and I landed on her and I was like, I want to let her read this. So she read it and she did it perfectly in the audition. And I was like, cool. It's like I wanna offer you the part. She agreed to doing it. So then I let her read the whole script. And same reaction. She was like, what? She was like, whoa, this is crazy. And then I had to explain to them that I kept a certain portion of the story away from them for a number of reasons, but mainly because I wanted them to experience it the way that the audience was going to experience it for the first time. Um, but if they had a said, "I don't want to do this film," I didn't want them to get that unless they said they were in, right? So
Right.
I
Right.
was like, all right. So now that you said yes, here's the whole thing. Um, but nah, Bree is great. She's toured. She's done some touring on stage. Um, she's got great energy, and the chemistry between her and Tim was like seamless. Just naturally from the once I casted her, and then I casted him, and then we had our first rehearsal together. The chemistry just meshed.
Mm.
I didn't have to do much. It was already there, and I was like, "Oh, this is perfect," right? So when we got on set, all I had to do is make sure that they were comfortable in front of the camera, right? So like, I won't say that's all I had to do, but there are some nuances, both physical, expression wise in the face, and delivery and dialogue that I wanted to make sure that they hit. It was
Okay.
very important to me that they hit it. Um, and so my job as a director for this project was to guide them through nailing those moments that I wanted them to nail. Right. I gave the of course there's some freedom as an actor that you got to be have to be able to make your own choices. There were some parts that I was like, you have to nail it this way because it's going to matter later on in the story, right?
Mm. Okay.
So they're amazing actors, not taking anything away from their skill level. But as a director, like any director, it's my responsibility to corral them in the direction that I want them to go to make sure that the story is told properly.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking about all of that stuff. Them hitting the moments, making sure the camera hits the moments, making sure the lights doing what it's supposed to do, and then the music on top of that.
It's definitely a very well put together short film. The cast is great. The security guard is okay, but everybody else is good. um,
Ah,
we're talking about the evaluation. I'm talking with film director, filmmaker, choreographer, writer, producer, all that good stuff. Mr. Kalani Davis, and his short film, The Evaluation, is screening November 17th at 6:30 p.m. from 6:30 to 8:30 at Temple University's Student Center South at the Real Cinema Movie Theater. That's at Temple University, 1755 North 13th Street. Of course, that's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
yes, sir.
Question and answer segment comes directly after the screening. And like I said, it is a
Hosted by
free.
Sincerely Sarita. Amazing human being. I love her, yo.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
The Q&A will be hosted by Sincerely Sarita.
Sincerely, Sarita is hosting the Q&A section. Yes, I don't want to forget that.
Yeah,
Free admission, free 99, my favorite price.
yeah. And there will also be I mean the concession stand will be open also. So popcorn, hot dogs, drinks, and all that stuff. It'll be like a regular movie experience.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, this your first screen well, you had screenings of the last days, right? Because I remember you said, but this is your first screening in how long?
Um, Let me see. First screening in how long? So the last screening I had was for Last Days. So I want to say that was uh, I got the poster on my wall. 2012, I think.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
2012. Um,
Okay.
but
So what is the feeling?
that's the last screening, not the last project.
Right, that's the last screening. So what is the feeling going into this screening?
Oh, I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Nobody has more goosebumps than I do about the 17th, right?
Okay.
Um, the the psychiatrist hasn't seen the film yet.
Oh, really?
Nope.
He doesn't want to see it until it's time, right?
No. He was supposed to. So I had a private screening for the cast and crew, but he couldn't make it.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay.
so the rest of the cast has seen it, but he hasn't yet. And so I know he's. I mean, I've talked to him, so I know he's super anxious to see how he did, how well the movie's going to come out, and whatnot. And I'm excited for him to see it for the first time on the 17th.
I'm
So
I'm interested because I'm gonna be there, and
yeah,
we've discussed. I'm going
yep,
to be there. I've never been to a screening where the cast was there.
yeah. So
So I'm personally, I already know how the audience is going to react, right? Because I'm
uh-huh,
audience, so I already know how they're going to react. They're going to love it, right?
yeah,
I'm interested in seeing how the cast. How I've never seen anybody watching themselves in the film for the first time,
yeah. It's
and I'm.
hard, man. It's hard.
Is it really? Well,
Yeah,
I can imagine because I don't like watching myself do stuff like this.
it's yeah.
Like
Right?
I don't want to
Yeah.
watch it again. It's like because I think everything I do is terrible and I need to improve on it every single time. And like I
Yep.
get mad at myself. I should have said this. I should have did that.
And as an actor myself, I can tell you that's never going away. It's never going to go
Thanks.
away. They're too, but it's a good thing though. It's a
Right,
good
because you
thing.
always want to improve.
Y'all right. It's always a drive for improvement.
Hmm.
Um, and even as a director, right? I'm my worst critic, right? Some people gonna walk out of there and go, eh, right? You're not gonna win everybody over.
Right, exactly.
Some people are gonna walk out of there and go, I didn't get it, right?
Uh,
Some people are gonna walk out of there and go, I got it, but I'm angry now, right? Right? I'm a something about that story offended me, right?
mhm.
Though my attention is not to offend anybody, we
Mhm.
do live in a society where people are offended very easily now. So
Yes.
I know that that's a possibility also. So as a director, I'm sitting in the audience. Oh, so this will be my first time watching it with a live audience, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I watched it. Like I've shared it with certain people like yourself for like
Right.
feedback, right?
Hmm.
Throughout the post production process, I have I have confidants who I share my stuff with, and they go, "Oh, this is dope, man. Tweak this, tweak that. Well, I didn't get this part," and I go, "Oh, if you didn't get it, then I must be doing something wrong as an editor, or you know, maybe I should change." You know what I mean? So I don't produce in a vacuum, right? I have certain people, even as I write, I do the same thing. I write my first draft. I got two friends who I share my stuff with, and I trust them because they're movie buffs like I am.
Hmm.
Um, and they they give me feedback, and if they loved it, then I say like, all right, cool, but I'm challenging you to tell me something that you didn't like or you didn't understand, right?
Okay.
And then they give that to me, and I go, okay, cool, and then I adjust. And I do
Hmm.
the same thing when I'm editing. Um, but even after doing all of that cleanup, watching it for the first time with an audience who doesn't know what you went through to make it, who wasn't there during the process, right? They're they're going in totally trusting you to put them in the hand. They have put themselves in your hands for however many hours the film is for the sake of entertainment. They're trusting you to take them on a ride,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so as a director, I'm sitting in the audience and I'm sweating bullets going, man, I hope they enjoy this ride, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm listening for I'm listening for oohs and ahs and laughter when I expect laughter. And a lot of times in creepy films, people laugh when they're not supposed to, right?
Hmm. Guilty.
They
Guilty.
laugh on the scary parts, right?
Right. That was
And
me growing up. I laughed at the scary stuff.
yeah, and honestly, oftentimes that's because the scary stuff worked, right?
Right.
First time I experienced that, my very first screening was a horror film called The Visit, and I noticed that people were laughing on the parts that I meant to be scary, and I had to check myself, and I was like, "Whoa, wait, Kalani, you do the same thing." At first I was like, "Does it look silly? Like what's going on?" Uh, then I had to catch myself and go, "Oh no, you do the same thing. You laugh when you're nervous, right?" And I was like, "That perhaps that means that what I mean. Perhaps that means that they're uneasy, and laughter is a release." Um, So I'm in the audience 90% of the time. I'm not even watching the film. I'm watching the audience. I'm like, do they get it? Do they like it? Sometimes my very first screening, man, I was so nervous. I stepped out of the theaters. I couldn't even I couldn't even be in there. I had to walk in after it was over. Like,
Wow.
okay, cool, you like
Trying
it.
to
All
you
right.
trying to hear all the reactions and stuff.
Yeah. I couldn't bear to sit in. But then the second time I had to challenge myself to like sit there and burn with the audience and make sure that they enjoyed it or didn't. So
So, is there? I have a couple other questions about for you. Excuse me. Outside of the film,
mhm.
but is there anything else that you want to discuss about the film before I moved on?
um yeah, I don't really want to say much more than the synopsis that I gave. It's a story about a psychiatrist who is called to do a last minute evaluation on a patient who's on trial for murder. You can watch it for entertainment. If you look a little deeper, you'll see an allegory. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. So, again, the evaluation short film by Kalani Davis. Screening November 17th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on the campus of Temple University, 1755 North 13th Street, Philadelphia, PA. Of course, at the Real Cinema Movie Theater in the Student Center South. And a question and answer segment will be with the cast and director directly after the screening. It is free admission, and the Q&A session is hosted by who?
Sincerely, Sarita.
Sincerely. That's what I wanted you to say because I know I was going
I
to
know
mess
it's
it
a
up.
tongue twister. Sincerely,
Sincerely, Sarita.
Sarita. Yep.
All right,
Yep.
definitely make sure you guys check that out. I'll
Great
be
human
there because
being.
I got questions to ask. And I want my questions answered, so I'll definitely be there. And plus, I want to see it again. So I'll definitely be in the place. We're speaking with Kalani Davis, filmmaker, writer, director, producer, all that good stuff. My question is, I have a question. This is my next question for you, and I'm stalling because I'm trying to remember it because I forgot some of it. So
It's all good.
forgive me. Um, you're going to be nervous at the screening, right?
Hmm.
And you want the crowd reaction, you want the satisfaction, but ultimately, and forgive me if you feel like you've answered this question already, because it's
No,
kind
it's
of
cool, man. It's cool.
what do you want the viewer
Hmm.
to take from this film?
Mm. So you didn't ask that question yet. But first and foremost, I think as a director, right, and not just me. I mean, like directors in general. Even if you want to tell a story or make a film that has a message in it, you cannot forget that your first responsibility is for that story to be entertaining, right? So first and foremost, I want you to walk away entertained, right? If you don't catch any of the nuances buried in the film, but you still walk away like, man, I enjoyed the film. I'm okay with that, right?
Mm,
You're a gold member in my book.
okay.
If you watch that film and you catch the nuances and the elements buried inside of it, even better. You're a platinum member. It means you took the time to analyze the story and walk away with, how do I say this without ruining it? But walk away with a either new perspective on how you think about things in society,
Hmm.
or your current perspective being affirmed. And I'm gonna come back to that one in a second. Remind me. Your
Okay.
current perspective being affirmed, or your current perspective being challenged,
Mm.
right? Like, I typically, this is what I see. Then you watch this movie and there's another viewpoint. And it's like, wait, what? That happens? Yeah, yeah, that this goes on. Um, any one of those three without ruining what the actual message is, uh, I would be happy with. And again, it's part of the reason why I want the floor to open up the conversations.
And
Um,
it, it- go ahead.
so to go back to my, when I said I'll come back to for a second,
Mhm.
when I say a, an, a new perspective, the my intention is to shed light on, when we talk about the things buried in the within the film, right? You
Mhm.
catch it, you catch it, you don't. We could talk about it. Maybe you'll see it after other people ask questions. Oh, I didn't catch that. But whatever. My intention is to shed light on things that don't typically get a lot of attention.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
There's common rhetoric that if you turn the TV on, you'll hear about on the news, you hear about on radio, you read about it on social media. Certain things in society that people are always talking about.
Mhm.
There's certain things that happen that go under the radar. That's the stuff that I intended to highlight in here,
Okay. Got you.
right?
I got you.
So
I got you.
yeah,
Um, I'm excited about the screening. Okay, I'm excited about it.
that's
I
good,
want to
man.
see people's reaction. I loved the film. Um, there are many, like you said, there are many stories within the film that you can that aren't directly the story of the film. Right, there's
Right,
many things that you can take out.
right.
The actors are amazing in it. Shout out to them. They I'm looking at the thing on the side there. I'm just thinking about how, because, and the reason I say that is because a lot of times you'll look at a short film and a lot of times they're from they're from directors or filmmakers that don't have the experience. So it's kind of
Oh, you
so
mean like short films? You
re-
mean
say it again.
you mean short films,
Short films, yes.
like independent short films?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
They don't have a lot of experience, but they put it out there. They kind of like what you said. They just did it.
You
They
just
they
doing
made
it.
it
Yep.
happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And I think sometimes those films get a bad rap because sometimes people are looking to be entertained one way,
Hmm.
and that film may not be what they were looking for. Like you said, some people be entertained, some people say, whatever the case may be. Now, I'm sorry, I just remembered the question, so I have to ask it right now.
Go for
And that fast, I forgot.
it.
That
Need
fast,
some
I forgot.
Ginkgo, bro.
Yo, I'm telling you, because it's something in here that reminds me every time I see it. It reminds me of it, and it's like
What's it reminding you of?
it reminds me of my question. Oh,
Oh,
now here it is. Here it is. I
all right,
gotta
good.
ask it
Yeah.
right now. When you go to watch a movie,
Me.
you, Kalani
Okay.
Davis, when you
Yeah.
go to watch any movie,
Yeah.
are you able to watch it outside of your filmmaking abilities? Are you able
Yes.
to go to a film and just watch? Let me explain why I'm asking you this. As someone who's worked in TV, I know that the biggest disadvantage I have in working in TV is the fact that I work in TV when
Hmm.
watching TV.
Hmm.
So, for instance, I worked in the news for many years. When I watch news today, I know when people have made a mistake.
Hmm.
And I'm always up that they didn't mean to do that. That wasn't supposed to happen. And
Right.
I'm watching it with my dad or my mom or my wife or whoever. And what are you talking about? How did you? I see things in a different way because
Yeah.
when I'm
Naturally.
watching a baseball game, I can't watch it outside of my coach's eyes anymore. So I
Right.
can't watch baseball as much anymore.
Oh
I
wow.
can watch it outside of the coach's eye. So can you watch films outside of your filmmaker's eye and be
Absolutely.
entertained by it?
Absolutely. Yep.
I wish I could be like you.
And I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. I think it comes from my. There's a kid inside of me, right?
Mhm.
I've had these conversations with my friends who I said that I share my work with before I put it out, who are also movie buffs, and we share. We've actually had this literal conversation. There's a kid inside of me. Like I said in the beginning of this conversation, man, this passion for storytelling was in me since I was a ankle biter, right?
Mhm.
So there's a kid inside of me who every time I sit in a theater and the lights go down and the screen goes from the trailers to that green warning screen with the don't copy, and then you see the opening logo of whatever studio made this. Like
Uh,
there's a child inside of me that comes to life. It's a literal experience for me. It's not just I'm praying that movie theaters open back up and we can, oh, I mean they're open, but like they become the norm again, right?
mhm,
And we
mhm.
can start taking trips to the theater in masses again and experiencing that communal experience of watching a film in a theater with hundreds of other people
Yeah.
and laughing together, screaming together, crying together, all that stuff, right? But like there's a kid inside of me that comes to life when I see that those
Mhm.
opening images, and then the opening title or the film fades into the first scene, and then you start to begin to wonder, like from the very first shot, where is this going to go? Right? When
Mhm.
is that inciting incident in the story going to happen where the character is living their regular life and then something disrupts it, and now the story begins, right? You're
Right.
waiting for that to happen. I want to get lost in that, right? Um, so like going to the movies, I mean, and I can, experience that to a degree watching the movie at home, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
But
It's
like
it's it's a different type of excitement when you're at the theater.
absolutely. But
Yeah.
like watching a film, home or in the theater, there's a kid inside of me that comes to life when I see those images, accompanied by the music, oftentimes like especially if the music is mysterious and you're like, oh man, what's about to happen? Right?
Mhm.
It's a kid inside of me that comes to life. And I am no longer an adult. I don't care what genre I'm watching. I become a kid, man, and all I want to do is get lost and escape inside of this world. And so when I go to the movies, I can't help but that happening to me. It's a natural reaction. I can't help it, right? It's not until I've already seen the film that I can then step back and go, if I enjoyed that, why did I enjoy it? Why did that film work for me? Why did that film stick with me? What was it about the elements? Was it just the music? Was it the cinematography? Was it the performance? Was it all of that? Was it the editing? Was it the pacing? Was it the story itself? Was it the way that you know what I mean? Then I take that film home here, and on the way home I'm driving and I'm breaking it down. Man, why did that work for me so well? What was it, right? And how can I implement that in the next story that I tell, right? But the first time I watch a film, I don't want to watch it as a filmmaker. I just want to get lost. I want to be entertained. And it happens naturally, and I'm glad that it does. I don't want it to happen any other way.
Gotta say I envy you, man. I
After
envy you 'cause it's very hard for me
I
because it's just natural. Like because when you work in I worked in news, I've made mistakes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
and people have called me out on my mistake. Look, that can't happen again. You got to make it do this, do that. And then when I see the same mistakes I made, somebody else made, it's like, saw
Yeah,
that, you
yeah,
know, I saw that.
man, man. I've made so many mistakes. There's mistakes in this one. You know what I mean? Like that. And I'm probably,
That you'll see that we won't see.
right,
Mhm.
right. Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Right. There's so many mistakes in my first project. I can't even watch them anymore. I'm like, oh, right, because I know I've grown, right,
Mm,
and I'm like, oh, I've graduated from that. I can't, you know what I mean? I don't want to relive that. It's too
right.
hard. It's too hard for me to watch. But I don't. Me personally, I can't speak for other directors, but I don't make movies for other directors.
Okay.
I don't make I don't make films for critics
Mm,
or other. I mean, not that my film has been on some critics list yet, but like I don't make films for other filmmakers, other artists. I don't make them for my peers. I
mhm.
make them for the people who relate to that kid that I just described that comes alive when I watch a movie.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
I tell stories for common moviegoers, for people who just like to be entertained. Right? Because you make movies for other artists, it's you're never gonna win, right? Win, right?
Mhm.
It's you're never gonna like another artist is always gonna find something wrong or something about your film to critique, and
Because it's
that's
through their eyes.
right because they watch it the way you watch baseball,
Right.
right?
Right.
But most
Mhm.
moviegoers don't watch films that way, right? And I mean, let's be honest. Today, moviegoers do go with a critical eye, right? Like they do, but they don't know the story behind the magic tricks,
Mm,
right? They just come to be entertained.
right.
And if I can tell a story that the regular moviegoer is entertained by, I'm good. I feel like I've done my job, right?
Hmm.
Um, that's not to say that sharing your work with people who do know the magic tricks and have a critical eye is not important. It is, right? Because it helps sharpen you as a storyteller. But I'm not making it for them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I got to just say, just on a personal note, I I always I always watched to be entertained. Right. I always did that.
yeah.
Um.
And that's how I go to the movies. I go to be entertained. When I first watch a movie, I don't go, let me analyze the cinematography here. If it stands out to me naturally, then you're doing an amazing job, right?
Brian Washington says I'm the same way with football. His friend of mine, he plays football and he's played at many different levels. And it's probably hard for him to watch football and not critique everything that's going on the
Yeah,
field.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but on a personal note, I always watch to be entertained up until a point, and I still watch to be entertained. Don't get
Mm-hmm,
me wrong,
mm-hmm,
but there was a point maybe 4 or 5 years ago where I discovered. I shouldn't say I discovered. It's like Christopher Columbus discovering stuff, right?
mm-hmm.
But where I came across Issa Rae's production company,
Right.
and she's got to be one of my favorites now. She's probably my favorite person in the industry right now because she puts a lot of people in place to do well. At least that's what it seems like to me.
Mm-hmm,
And one of the productions that came out of her production company was, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's a series called Giants. That
no.
she, I think it was called Giants. That um, it was about three friends. Anyway, we're not talking here to talk about that, but the I from watching that and watching some of the stuff that came from her, I really I found an appreciation for the art,
Mm,
and I've been able to, from that point forward, have been able to watch films and series for the art and the entertainment, because I have friends that are like you, they are artists,
mm-hmm,
and they have always been able to appreciate the art, and I've never really been able to appreciate the art because all I saw was the entertainment side.
mm-hmm.
The art side of it, like it blows my mind now because now I'm looking at it from that point of view, from that perspective as well. And when I was watching yours, and I'm doing things like I'm watching how the colors the colors you're using in the film and the music
Mm,
you're using in the film and the it might be the scene could be dark or the scene could be bright or something, maybe it's raining, whatever the fact, and I know that it's purposely done to add to the scene or to
hmm.
add to the film itself.
To the
I've
mood.
I've such a grand appreciation for that now. Such
Yeah,
a grand
man.
appreciation for that.
Yeah.
And you are one that you can capture that
Oh man,
for
thank
the
you.
things for the productions that you've put together that I've been able to watch, that I've had the privilege and the pleasure of watching. Let me put that out there too. You do a good job of that, and I would encourage any other creator to be the same way. You inspire me, brother. I'm gonna tell you right now, you inspire me.
Wow.
You absolutely inspire me. That's why
Thank
we
you,
watch.
man.
That's why we looking like what's Kalani been up to? Let me see. 'Cause you one of the people that inspired me, especially being from where we are from, and you're going ahead and pushing forward and putting your projects out there and doing it for the love, as I do things for the love as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. This is me giving you your flowers. Thank you
Oh,
for doing
thank
what
you,
you
brother.
do, and please continue to do so. Where can the people find you and check you out and see some of your work?
So you can come to Temple University on November 17th and check out the evaluation. After that, my goal, my plan is to also run this short film through the film festival circuit. Um, so the minute that is accepted to any festival, you know, you'll hear about that also. And in the long run, I also plan on releasing it online through um, my own platform, whether it be through like Vimeo or YouTube or something else that I may create. But I want to give it an opportunity to run through the festival circuit first. Um, and you can keep up to date with all of that stuff if you follow me on Facebook and Instagram under my name, Kaloni Davis. And the evaluation itself has a page called The Evaluation on Instagram and Facebook. So you can stay up to date through both of those.
Absolutely. Kalani Davis, thank you for joining us on New Twist Radio Presents, man. Good brother. We promote good people doing good
Thanks
things.
for having me, man.
And Mr. Davis is over here doing good things, man. Check out the evaluation. Come down to Temple University on the 17th. Say hello to the cast. Ask them some questions. Enjoy the film. Get some popcorn. I'm going to be there. You can say what's up to me, or you don't have to say what's up to me. It really doesn't matter because it's not about me. It's about the people in the evaluation and
Yes,
Mr.
come,
Kalani
come.
Davis.
It's free. If you're not doing anything on the 17th, come see a cool film and get a chance to meet the cast. It's going. I promise you, you're gonna have a good time. Cecilia
Absolutely.
Sarita there. She's gonna make sure that it's a great experience. So
Absolutely. Mr. Mike Knotts is giving you a round of applause. Giving you a
yeah,
round of applause.
I hope I see you there, Mike.
So look, Mr. Kalani Davis, thank you for being with us. We're going to get up out of here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Excuse me. Appreciate you for being with us and spending some time. Hold on for a second. I'm going to get a couple things from you after we're done.
Cool.
But appreciate you being with us, and definitely check out New Twist Radio Presents and everything else that goes on New Twist Radio, especially on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll talk to y'all next time. We are out of here.
Peace.
Peace.